Kunal, when we spoke on Friday, I asked you whether we are hitting the all-time high levels on Nifty this week or not. You said yes. Do you maintain that view?
Of course, yes. I think it's gotten a bit more quicker for the index. Did not expect this today to be a 100 point odd day for the Nifty, but I think no complaints because the market breadth, the large cap movement, the sector specific movement, all of that is quite commendable for the indices. We are moving on, in a very gradual manner on the index. I think that's the most interesting part because had it been a pacey kind of an upward move for the indices and no or rather lack of support from the market internals, then I think the move could have been a bit more short-lived. But I think it's a good time that you've seen the index moves gradual, the mid-cap end of the market being a lot more buoyant than what we've seen maybe over the last many months. So I think all of that is quite positive. Would expect 18,800, 850 as the next set of targets for the index, hopefully this week.
Right. Nooresh, what's your take on what's going to lead that 2% on the index and make it to the new highs?
So it has to be a bunch of stocks across the board. So we are seeing Axis Bank take a lead today. We are seeing ICICI Bank coming close to the previous all-time highs. We are seeing some bit of a rally across the auto names. It's just that the auto names do not have a very high weightage in the index. But clearly autos are one sector which is leading, whether it is Tata Motors or Mahindra and Mahindra back to a new all-time high. And even the names like Hero MotoCorp, etc. But the weightage is not as high. But so we are still not seeing the heavyweights come up in a big way. So HDFC Twins, Reliance Industries, Kotak, Infi, TCS continue to be in the sideways range or lower drift. So expecting that is the reason I'm not as gung-ho on the index in terms of say ideally when we are closer to an all-time high, you would expect a much bigger move beyond the all-time high. But for now, expecting a move towards 18,800, 18,900. But can we sustain and go to 19,500 looks difficult. Ideally, a new all-time high should see a much sharper momentum in the Nifty heavyweights, which is not there. So it's a slow and steady move. You want to be buying the dips on the index rather than chasing it.
Steady move, we'll take that. But in the meantime, you talked about the auto stocks, which are doing quite well. But Kunal, what should one do with the defense pack? Cochin Shipyard, Mazgaon Dock, they're all doing well. A lot of these names like BEL, HAL, they're all sitting at all-time high levels.
Yeah, I think you can just buy these stocks or maybe hold on. BEL and HL are the most stronger ones, more predominant names. I think these stocks or the trends for these stocks have been far more stable, stronger. In fact, HL was also one of the recommendations in on my list of recommendations today. The stock had moved up, I think 3%, 4% in the first half an hour, first 1 hour of the market move, and then you've seen the move trickling to the likes of BEL, Mazgaon Dock, Cochin Shipyard, etc. So I think it's again a most sector-specific up move which has happened, but I think HAL and BEL are the two names which I would still continue to be bullish on, and I think would recommend a buy even at current levels.
Okay, so that's the take coming in. Nooresh, you talked about the auto stocks, of course, which are looking strong, but what about FMCG? That's seeing a bit of a profit booking today, whether it's Nestle, Asian Paints, HUL, etc. What would be the recommendation for FMCG names?
So out here, HUL has started becoming interesting on a little longer term time frame if we look at it. So the stock topped out around this 2600 mark roughly back in June of April, May of 2020 itself. Then we saw a spike towards that 2800 mark again in 2021. Even in 2022, the spike was closer to this 2700 mark. So now we are getting close to that 2700 mark, setting up possibly for a momentum trade here in Hindustan Unilever. So HUL remains one of the top picks. The second one is Godrej Consumer, which has slowly and steadily trended higher. Even after the Damon deal and the gap down, the stock did well and is now getting closer to an all-time high, say 10% away, but there is an upside possibility it could go towards 1150 levels. So these are the two names which look good on every dip. The rest of the names still don't have a lot of, say, leadership structure as such, but HUL could be the one in the large cap space, and then Godrej Consumer.
Although today, of course, it's Z all the way, 4.5% is the uptick there. M&M has been leading the charge within the frontliners. There's Rain, HAL, like Anisha just highlighted, and RBL Bank, which is also going very strong. A solid over 3% move on the futures is what that stock is seeing. But specifically on autos, it's M&M and Tata Motors all the way. Kunal, if you were to initiate a fresh long, would you pick M&M or Tata Motors? Actually, I should just take a guess here.
I'll pick Tata Motors even at current levels. I think it's an attractive proposition for the charts even at current levels. After almost 1.5 years of literally no movement for Tata Motors, or rather movement in a range. I think it's come out of a big breakout for itself. So the chart patterns from 2020 lows towards 2021 highs, and then the last 1.5, 2 years of consolidation, all of that is quite typical of a possible up move over the medium to long term for Tata Motors. So would go with that. Again, I think if given the choice of extra fund surplus, then would add M&M as well.
So $550 on Tata Motors at this point of time. Where do you see it headed?
Over the near term, hoping for 600, 650 as a target for Tata Motors. But as I said, that the idea over here is more long term rather than very short term.
Okay, point taken. But on that note, we are slipping to a very short break with the news that while the pockets like auto sector are outperforming, the Nifty is pretty much flat around 18,620.